Welcome to this episode of Wanderlust Solo Women Travel Unscripted. Real women, real stories, real journeys, and no filter. Join Gina, your host, to share the experiences and stories of solo female travelers and advocates from all over the world, with a mission to empower women of all ages, backgrounds, and life stages to embrace solo female travel with confidence and enthusiasm, while being authentic and real, unscripted. Confronting the challenges and apprehensions many women face when considering solo adventures, providing inspiration to break through those barriers. Sharing how life transitions, loss, and trauma can lead to amazing experiences, rediscovery, and life journeys. The good, the bad, and the ugly of authentic and honest travel. So let's throw out the script, get comfy, and jump right into this episode.
Joining me is Damianne President. She is the host of Freedom Looks Like This, podcast about what actually changes when women over 40 stop waiting and start choosing themselves. Through solo travel and coaching, she helps women rebuild self-trust and create lives that feel like their own again. Join us as we share insights on the power of solo travel for discovery, confidence building, and intentional living. So get comfy, grab a cuppa, and let's dive into this show. Hi, welcome back everyone to Wanderlust Solo Women Travel Unscripted, the podcast where we talk all things solo female travel, and I'm so excited. As you heard in the little bio at the start, we have Damianne joining us, and she's coming to us from Prague, so that's really cool. Great, so great to have you here.
Thank you, Gina.
So I can't wait to delve into this conversation because we're going to talk all about empowerment through solo travel, but also how you can bring that empowerment that you have back home and more deep intentional travel. But to start off, I always have a question. It's our signature thing for our paso question, and I love this one for you. So here we go. You ready?
Yes.
Right. What does a truly restful holiday look like to you?
Truly restful. Actually, this is a really good question because it's something I have been thinking about because I just spent a month in Japan and I was sitting in a massage chair and I had my phone in my hand and I was like, what are you doing, Damianne? Isn't this your relaxation time? So I think a truly restful holiday is having the opportunity to do something a little bit different than you usually do. So for me, my brain is always on. I'm taking classes, I'm doing my podcasts, I'm working. Like I don't often have a moment when I can just be and really tune into what do I want to do right now. And the more I can do that on a holiday, then the more restful it is. And often the answer is sit around and read my book or go for a walk in somewhere that's green where I can really, and like those are the two things that I really feel replenish me. Just like having time for a book or out in nature.
I love that. And like we were just chatting before too, because I went on a holiday back in late last year. It was great, but it was a tour. It was jam-packed. It was not restful. And I think that's really important when you're starting to plan an adventure or a journey or a trip or whatever you're going away for, what you actually really want out of it. And that's why I think you're the perfect person to talk to this about, because it's more about a deeper sense of travel, like why are you traveling and what's happening underneath it. So we both know how powerful travel is, or it can be. So do you want to share why solo travel feels so powerful?
Yeah, I think solo travel for a lot of people is the time when you face yourself in a way that you don't do at home. And so this is a place where you really, you have to make the decisions. You get to really embody the moment. Whether you're having fun or not, you can't blame anybody. It really is on you. And so I think solo travel is really powerful because it's an opportunity for you to really see yourself, for you to really tune in to what is it that you want. And then how does that show up in life? Like, are you actually able to express that? Or do you continue the habits of holding back?
Yeah. And I think that's really important because we've usually got so much going on. It's really hard to really know what's truly growing on and why you
Exactly.
actually need this experience in the first place. I think that's really important. Someone like yourself with your coaching and that you do is really unwrapping what is it underneath that's really happening for you and why you need this experience. Would you is that something you talk to when you're coaching some of your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's different for everybody. Sometimes it's different, and it's different at the stage you are in life or what's happening, what's going on around you. So I just talked about a trip that I did to Japan for 1 month, but that was part of a longer trip where I traveled for 3 months. And so first I went to the Caribbean and spent time with family. And then I went to Sri Lanka, Cambodia, Laos, and Japan. And in between that, I had a weekend in Busan and a weekend in Vietnam. So based on the amount of time that I chose to spend each place and what I intended to do, there were very different types of trips. So in Busan, I love Korean drama. So Busan for me was just about living Korean experience. So I went to Gumcheon Village and I went to Gwangali Beach and saw the light show with I don't know, hundreds of drones. For me, there were
Oh, yeah.
specific things. Yeah. And I didn't even know before I went. But as I got there, I was like, I think I would like to see the sunset. Let me go and see if there is a spot. And then I found out about the light show and I was intrigued. I thought that is going to be amazing. And it was. So I think it really depends. And there have been times in my life when I've gone on solo trips where everything is planned because sometimes I went to Italy, for example, and I wanted to see a painting, but I hadn't planned it before. So I hadn't booked and it required a 1 month booking. So depending on where I'm going, if there is something that I want to see, then I need to book it ahead and plan for it, even though regardless of how I might feel in that moment, right? Because this is something I desire. But at other times, it's how do I just leave space to embody the experience and see what I want to do each day? And sometimes it's I don't want to make any decisions. I'm just going to book a tour and see what happens. So there's so many different types of ways to solo travel. And I think this is what some people don't realize. When they see solo travel, they think that means you need to be a backpacker, or that means you need to have a lot of money and do all solo trips where you're going on solo adventures and all of your tours are going to be by yourself, or that you have to book every single thing alone. And there are lots of different ways. I keep meeting people who have done it in different ways. I met a lady who she booked her hotels by herself because she has certain criteria, but then she works with a company to book the tours and the drivers for her. For me, I tend to book everything myself, but some days I will take group tours and other days I'll take solo tours. And some days I'll do nothing at all. I don't know if I answered your questions. I've gone kind of a full circle here.
No, I love that. And because I think I'm very much a similar traveler. So, and I think it's a really important thing to touch on is obviously, if you can have more time, like a few weeks to travel, you've got that flexibility to have down days and to pick and choose things. But I think there's some people get that urgency go and they've got, I've only got 2 weeks. I need to jam pack everything into it. But I do wonder sometimes if they're really getting anything out of that experience because
Exactly.
they're trying to jam everything in because they've only got this small amount of time where maybe it's better to go, okay, instead of going 5 different places, I'm going to go 2 and really deep dive into those places and have a more intentional, deeper experience. Would you agree with that?
So I think the way I would frame it is to ask yourself the question, do I have time to savor this? For me, it's really about savoring and delight. And so if you're doing so many things that you're frantic, you don't get time to really be oh, look at this. Look what's happening here, and really get to savor it, to spend a few extra minutes, then I think that's probably a miss.
I love that. And it brings up a travel experience I had. I'll share with you. It's quite fun. I've got a friend that I've known since we were babies. She's my best friend in the world. I love her to bits. We'll never, ever travel with her we met up in Thailand, and we were in Bangkok, and she had another friend with her and her daughter, and she had a list of all the things she needed to see, and I think we had 3 days there. I literally was out of breath. Like, at one stage I said, can we just sit and have a beer for a minute? And that's the thing, exactly what you said. There was no time to savor it, and I get it. And for those people that want to get as much out of that experience in a shorter time, if you want to do that, that's fine. But like you said, there are other ways. And I think, recognizing you don't have to do that, and that you can savor. I love how you said that, savor the moment.
Yeah, because I think for a lot of people, it's about accomplishment.
Yeah.
Because our whole lives are often about accomplishment. How much can you do? My family's planning a trip. This is not a solo trip, but it's a family trip. And we're going to go to Nigeria and Ghana. And one of my family members sent this itinerary of things. And I was like, oh my goodness, are we going to get time to breathe during this? Like, are we going to do something every day that is a jam-packed day? Because that's really not how I travel. But yeah, it's interesting because people have different reasons, and some people think, oh, I'm never going to come here again. Whereas I always think, oh, I could come back here again. I might not, but I could come back here again if there is something that I really wanted to come back and see in the future. And so maybe that is a kind of privilege, I'll admit, but at the same time, it does loosen up the pressure for you if you can realize it doesn't have to be one and done. I don't have to do everything.
100%. And again, it is a privilege. I totally agree with you there. And I have been very fortunate to visit some destinations more than once. And so it's not all about just ticking off countries, So I think, I can't remember how many I've been to, but, some of them I've been back multiple times.
Yep.
And again, it's like you said about it being an achievement, but I've enjoyed going back to those countries because either it's been at a different time of my life or I've seen it in a different way. Like maybe it was a group I went with before, now it was solo, or vice versa. A great example was Egypt, because the first time I went there, it was actually my very first big solo adventure. So I really threw myself in the deep end.
Yep, you did.
And it was with a group tour, which was fantastic. I made some amazing friends, but I think the whole thing was just so much of a onslaught. Like everything, like every sense that I had was just getting bombarded. It was a lot to take in, especially being my first experience. So when I got the opportunity to go back again, I jumped at it. And yes, I did some of the same things, exactly the same things again, but I saw them with totally different eyes. And that's what I really loved. And I think that's what you mentioned. It's like there are different ways to travel. And I think that's one of them. You don't have to tick a place off and then that's it. You can go back, and that's okay.
Yeah. Earlier, you talked about what's the intention with travel, or why are you going to a place? And I think that matters too, because, for example, I just went to Sapa and just for a weekend. So I had 2 days there, and I chose Sapa because I wanted beauty and I also wanted to walk. And so I knew that I would be able to find that there amongst the rice fields. But if I want beauty and want to walk, it doesn't have to be Sapa. There might be another place, right? Like in Czech Republic, I could go outside to the countryside if I really have that desire and experience it there. So I think there's also something about not being necessarily too tied to a place. On the one hand, sometimes there are places that really attract us and we can't even necessarily put it in words. So for years, I know you live in Australia, and for years I wanted to go to Australia.
I have to stop you.
Sorry.
It's okay. I live in New Zealand. I'll forgive you. It's close. Carry on.
I was like, oh my goodness. Okay. As I was talking, I was thinking, actually, the place I really wanted to go was New Zealand, but I don't want to offend her. So I'm very happy.
And then, you know what? I'm going to leave this in because I think it's quite funny. So keep going.
So I went to Australia and New Zealand, and I went to Australia for 7 days and New Zealand for 2 weeks. So you can see which one I was more attracted to. Anyway, for years I wanted to go and I didn't really have a good reason, right? Like it's far, it's expensive. So people would always say like, why do you want to go there? Because you live in Europe and you can see a lot of the same things in Europe. But I just felt like there would be some energy that's different in New Zealand that I wanted to experience. And especially I had some Maori friends when I lived in Japan. And so I really wanted to, I knew that if I visited her, I could experience some of the culture. And some of my trips are very cultural experiences. I want to see what it's like for people to live there. I want to experience how people live. I want to experience the music and the theater, etc., and the food. And that's really what New Zealand was for me. So even though I could have done a lot of those same types of experiences in other places, there was something special about New Zealand that I needed to go there.
Did you have a fabulous time while you were here?
I had such a fabulous time in New Zealand. And there were some days when I did really long trips. Like,
Yes.
I don't even remember the name of it, but somewhere outside of Queensland, there was a place I wanted to go. And I needed to take, like, I don't know, a 4-hour bus ride in each direction for just a few hours there. And at first I was like, that's ridiculous. Why would you do such a thing when you're the person who is into travel and tuning in and not doing something just for accomplishment? But I was like, I really want to go there. I
You
really
travel
want
a
to
long
see
way.
it. And I've already come a long way. So I did that. And I spent a little bit more money so that I could fly back. And so I would do the bus in one direction and fly back in the other direction. And that was the other thing that I was like, are you really going to spend that money? And exactly what you said. It's like, okay, what do I want out of this? And sometimes we nitpick, like, I'm not going to spend $50 on this tour. But you spent $2,000 to come to this place. Are you really going to come here and miss out on this desire because of $50 when you've already spent so much? So I'm
Yeah.
always like, I have these kinds of thoughts a lot with myself where I'm like, okay, are you being reasonable here? And are you holding yourself back from true desire?
I need to write these quotes down because that's another really good one. Are you holding yourself back from your true desire? And that, like, I've had a few times, like you said, when you're there and you start nitpicking and like, you're right, can I afford to do this? Or is it too far? But you've traveled all that way. And I know, and when I first went to Egypt, like I mentioned, we were at a place and it had advertised in the lobby that you could fly to Jordan. I think it was fly and go to Petra and then fly. It was like 2 days or something. And I was like, oh, and it was, a little bit more expensive. And and I didn't do it. And I kicked myself for years because that might have been my only opportunity. I was very lucky in 2024 to actually go and spend, a few weeks in
Oh,
Jordan,
nice.
thank God. And I can remember another time in Canada, I went with and he was an ex now, but I wanted to go whale watching. We were out on Vancouver Island and I wanted to go whale watching. He said, you can go whale watching at home. I said, no, but we're in Canada. I want to go whale watching in Canada. We never went whale watching. So, and I haven't done it at home either. So you're so right. I think you really need to give yourself that permission to follow that desire if you're able to
Yes.
while you're in that moment.
Yeah, I think that's important, right? What you said, if you're able to, because sometimes it's not about ability. Sometimes it's just about holding yourself back because you think, oh, I'll do it at home or whatever. And especially the at home thing. There are so many things I intend to do at home. And I always think I have someday to do them, right? So I don't think that should really be something to hold you back from an experience you really want, because it's also okay if you do the same thing more than once. Like my favorite city in the world probably is London. And I go to London at every opportunity because I just love the energy. I go to the theater. Like I don't worry about safety. I can be completely myself. People speak English. So for me, it's such a, like being I don't even go see the sights. I go for afternoon tea. I go to the theater. Like when you talk about a relaxing holiday, London to me is the ultimate relaxing holiday because I'm not trying to achieve anything when I go there. And so I think it's very interesting that when I go to London, I can also go to the cinema. We have cinemas in Prague. I go to the cinema all the time in Prague. But why does that mean I can't go in London if that's what I want to do one evening?
And yeah, and you're so right. And I think that's what the beauty of solo travel is you can make that decision. It's up to you to make that decision. You have no one. You don't have to ask anybody. You don't have to check in with anybody. You can just make that decision yourself. And I think you mentioned it when in your information you sent through to me, but I really loved it too. What comes up when you are the only one making decisions? And I think, do you find that when you're talking to your clients too, that they start second guessing themselves?
Oh, yes, all the time. It's like, is this the right thing to do? Is a question that comes up a lot. Well, like, what will people think if I do
Oh, wow.
this? Like, can I really spend this money for myself or is that selfish? Those are some questions that come up a lot, especially for women. And I've had those questions come up for myself
Yeah.
too. Like, is it selfish to go on a trip right now when I could give that money to somebody else who needs it, when I could donate, when like me not being here means I can't help out in some way. Is that okay? So I think we have a lot of pressures on ourselves of expectations of other people. And so there's often that tension of navigating,
Yeah.
like what can I keep for me and what do I have to give to others? And I get to the place where I decided like I am responsible for my life. Like I am responsible for the life that I have, the life that I live. And so, yes, I want to be a good community member. I want to be a good family member, but I also want to have my life. And part of that means solo traveling.
Yeah. And I know another thing that you talk a lot about as well is the confidence solo travel gives you. Like I know firsthand it's done amazing wonders for my confidence. What are some of the ways that women can build or get confidence from solo travel?
Yeah, so I think the decision making is of course the big one, but it's also all of the little things that you do. So can you eat at a restaurant, a nice one by yourself? And that's a journey. Like that's a journey that I've had to take. Sometimes I still feel a little bit self-conscious walking into a restaurant and I'm like, I'm gonna have a good time tonight, even though it's all by myself. And even just listening to my words, right? It's like even though as if being with somebody else means that you
Yeah.
automatically have a better experience. And we all can think of somebody where we've spent time with them and it has depleted us in some way, or the experience has not been that great. But somehow we still think that that is necessary for us to have a great experience. So I think there are so many little ways where we can have confidence in solo travel. So taking the bus. I just was
Yeah.
in Vienna and I had to figure out like I didn't want to take a taxi, so I had to figure out where do I buy the bus ticket? Where is the bus stop? And it took me a little bit longer than it does at home, but I did figure it out. And that lets me know next time I can also figure it out. So we can build habits that helps us know I can do all of these things in a new environment. And it's amazing because these are all things we do at home often. But somehow when we're in a new place, we think, "Oh, are we going to be able to figure it out?" And the answer is yes, you absolutely can figure it out. If you can talk to people, if you can look something up on your phone, if you can, I don't know, call and ask a friend if you really need to. There are so many different ways to figure it out. And each time you figure something out, that's another confidence building boost. And sometimes a self trust boost, which I think goes hand in hand with self confidence.
Yeah, 100%. And I always say to people that you are more capable than you think. And you're so right. Like the skill sets we already carry. And then all of a sudden we're doing the same thing, but just in a different environment, and we go, oh my God, I don't know what to do anymore. But you've already done it. It's just now you're doing it in a different environment. And yeah, it may be a little bit foreign, the language might be different or the signs look different, but we've got tools that we can use, especially today. It was really funny. I just actually posted a photo back from 2011 it was, when I was 40 and went on my first solo adventure, and I stayed at a hostel in Paris, and I'd met this bunch of people in the hostel, and it was a photo of the guys that I was with. We were lost, and we'd put a map on the ground on the pavement, and everybody's trying to look at the map. And I was like, what do you notice about this photo? It's the fact we didn't have any phones. We had phones, but not like we've got today. And that's, that was a great memory, actually. And it's that we worked it out. And I think that's what you just said, you'll work it out. And then how do you what is one bit of advice is how that confidence that you do end up building up, which you will, how do you bring that back home?
I think it's natural that as you build that confidence, it changes you in some way. And I also think that when you reflect, like that reflection piece allows you to notice, I'm a little bit different than I used to be. I'm more confident in these spaces. Or I don't need somebody to do everything with me in the same way that I used to before. So it's kind of twofold. One is that it naturally does. So for example, if you keep working out, you're building muscle, whether you realize it or not. It's the same way, you're building a muscle. And then the second thing is that when you notice, it actually helps you to show up in a different way. I think awareness and intention are really fundamental to being able to show up in a different way in your life.
Yeah, 100%. And for those women that are sort of wondering, should I do this, or, is it something for me, especially for, after years of accommodating other people, there is an importance of you starting to accommodate yourself, isn't there?
Yes, exactly. I mean, this is a cliche, right? But they do tell you on the airplane, put on your own oxygen mask first. And there is a reason for that. And the reason for that is that if you give and deplete, then at some point you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're resentful, or you're just frustrated, or you're so tired that you actually cannot give to somebody else because, like, imagine you don't put on your own oxygen mask and your oxygen is depleted. How much can you really help the person beside you? So I think realizing that it's not just a desire to take care of yourself, it's actually essential that you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And solo travel can be a great way for you to reset, for you to relax. Like, I find even just being in a different environment allows me to move differently through the world. So if at home you have all of these responsibilities and you can't say no, go the next city over for a few days. It could be as simple as that, right? Like, I'm laughing, but I'm also serious that whatever you need to do to give yourself some space for you to just be, for you to see yourself is really important. And it's back to that relaxation we talked about early.
Yeah.
And it's also building confidence. And it's also figuring out what is it that you want more of in your life and what is it that you want less of in your life. Those are all so important for a life you love. And when I say that, people are like, really? That's kind of a high bar. But yes, of course, why shouldn't we have lives that we love?
I love, again, another good quote. And that's the thing, like I have all these conversations with wonderful people like yourself, and we're very passionate about the transformation that travel can give you. And it's really hard to get that across to someone who's never experienced it. So it's something you really need to step into. And it can be really, really scary, that first one. But I think what you just said about it doesn't have to be thousands of miles away. It can be the next city over. So it doesn't have to be a massive step to start off with. What would you recommend is, like, if someone's a little bit nervous, a little bit hesitant, but sort of resonating with what you're saying, what would be the first bit of advice or little nudge you would give them?
So very simply, the next time you go on a trip with somebody else, it doesn't have to be a solo trip. Take some time where you're doing something separately from them. Like, that's a really easy way because usually when we go on trips with other people, we think that we have to be in lockstep with them. And even I admit there have been times when I've had disagreements with friends because I'm like, what do you mean you want to go off and do something all by yourself? What am I going to do? And it's like, actually, this is a really cool way for us both to get something different from the experience because you might want to do something and I don't want to do it. So what do? I don't do it and then I'm a little bit sad or upset or whatever. Like I have an example. I went to Athens with a friend and I wanted to go to the archaeological museum. So we had gone and done all the sightseeing, visited lots of different sites. And she was like, I'm kind of tired. I want to go back to the hotel. And I was like, okay, well, I'll go to the archaeological museum and you go back to the hotel and rest. Like something as simple as that. So I spent 3 hours just exploring by myself. You don't have to start by saying, oh, I'm going to go away for a week. It could be, I'm going to spend some time on my own on a family trip. Or it could be, like we talked about earlier, I'll go the next town over and spend a day by myself. I think it's doing something that's different from what you would typically do while being in an environment where you get to make the decisions and you actually figure out, what do I want to do? That's the important part here, figuring out what is it that you want to do in those hours.
Yeah. I think that's actually great advice, and it's not advice I've heard before, and I haven't given it either, is doing that. If you've used to traveling with people and you're still traveling with people, to do what you just said, and I think not explain that to the whoever you're with that, "Hey, on our trip, I hope it's okay, but, I plan maybe 1 or 2 days, and you can do your thing and I can do mine." And so there's no guilt, that pressure, like you said, "Oh,
Exactly.
why are you leaving me behind?" But I've gone and done things, or people have come and done things with me because I suppose they feel obligated when we're traveling, and the experience hasn't been the same because I know they're not enjoying it.
Exactly. And then you
So
enjoy it a bit less.
and then I'm not enjoying it. So stay behind and I'll go by myself. And I think that's
Yes.
really important, that your whole experience can change because then you're back to what we said before. You're accommodating somebody else
Yeah.
and you're not accommodating yourself in that moment. And it's just from pure obligation of that person thinking they should come or you thinking you should go, when really you should just embrace the moment and do it, the thing you love.
Yeah. And some people tell me, oh, well, it's not fun if I go by myself. Or I really feel like I need somebody else with me in the experience for it to be enjoyable. And I would like to challenge that a little bit because, like, I have had so many experiences where I am somewhere doing something by myself and I catch a stranger's eye and we both smile because it's such a delightful experience. And that counts. Like we have a lot of research that shows even casual small interactions are healthy for us. And so if you go to a museum and you're enjoying the artwork, how much is taken away from you if you don't have somebody right beside you? I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but for me, I am there more for the artwork than for the person standing watching the artwork beside me. And I think the next level up is for you to talk to a stranger, right? Like if you're used to doing
Yep.
things by yourself, solo traveling, talk to a stranger and be like, wow, isn't that amazing? Just something small like that. I think you will be surprised how often people will respond and that you can have that moment of connection.
I love that. And like some of my most special moments traveling have been moments with strangers that, we've been waiting for a coffee and a conversation has struck up, or we've been sitting next to each other in a restaurant, or we've been watching something and we comment on it. And then, yeah, like you said, we catch that gaze of that other person. And I think that's a really special thing about solo travel is those little moments.
Yes. I think actually what has really stayed with me from my trip in Japan is lots and lots and lots of little moments. And I
Yeah.
would say a lot of them are even more than the big moments because if you add them all up, it's like, wow, like what is a life? What is a trip? it's all of the small moments when you have that opportunity to live and feel. And again, back to that concept of delight. Like I find tiny moments really delightful personally.
I love that. What was one of your highlights of Japan? I know it's really, I hate it when people ask me this question, like, what was your favorite moment or what's your favorite country? So I'm putting it back on you. Was there one of those special little moments that
But
really
you
stood
did
out?
ask it differently, which I appreciate because you said like a moment that stayed with you, which I can pick
Yeah.
any, right? Like if you had said
Yes.
favorite,
Yeah.
that would have been
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
But one of the moments I shared with a friend was going to a sushi restaurant, and I was the only one in the restaurant. Like I was there for 2 hours and nobody else came in. And at some point, the chef served me this squid, and it was the best squid of my life. So when I ate it, I actually made a sound like I must have made a hum of appreciation or something. And the chef heard and then he chuckled. So I was like, wow, like I just noticed in the moment, this is amazing because the fact that he noticed kind of ramped up my delight even more. And after that, I felt like we were able to talk a little bit more. He didn't speak a lot of English. My Japanese is polite Japanese, but we had a little conversation. I think that kind of broke the ice a bit.
That's so cool. And you know what? That probably made his day.
I hope so. I mean,
Yeah.
I think anytime somebody smiles or laughs, that's a good thing, right? So I was happy to
100%.
have that moment with him.
And that isn't that, and it is those small moments. If you can make someone else smile, wouldn't it be a better world if we were all doing that right now?
Exactly.
So as we wrap this episode up, because I do feel we've got a lot to talk about, so maybe we do another episode, but I just want to do a quick fire round with you because I think that'd be quite fun because you do quite a lot of travel. So I'm going to ask you about 4 or 5 questions. So the very first thing that comes to your head, I don't know if I'll ask. I've got a list in front of me. I'm giggling at it, so it's all right. Solo dinner or fancy restaurant or street food?
Fancy restaurant.
What is your best wellness routine? So what is one thing you do in the morning that's part of your travel wellness routine?
Go for a walk in the morning in the sun.
Love that. If you, I always, this one's a contentious debate. Fold or roll when you're packing?
Depends on how much space I have. Fold if I'm really trying to get a lot in. Pack in cubes.
Yeah. If you had one person to travel the world with, they can be dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh. Oh my goodness.
That's a bit harder, isn't it?
That one is hard. I'm going to go with Oprah because I think we would have like a next level trip.
It would definitely be next level. I love that answer. That's very cool. That's awesome. And so as we started the episode, we had our paso paso question. What is your question you're going to ask the next guest?
So my question is, what is it an automatic yes for you when you travel? And I'll answer it myself. For me, it's like, do you want to go see a waterfall? The answer is always yes. So I want to know, when you travel, what's your automatic yes?
Love that. And I think when you're traveling, say yes more.
I
That's
love
really
that.
important. Just say yes more. So where can everybody find you?
You can find me at freedomlookslikethis.com. This is where you can find my podcast and more information about me. And I also have a free community for solo travelers on the platform School. And you can find a link at freedomlookslikethis.com as well.
And I'm going to put all that information down below. And also you've got something that 3 steps to feeling like yourself again guide that you will offer the listeners.
Yes, that's right. So 3 steps to feel like yourself again. It basically takes you through 3 easy steps that you can do on your own time, at your own pace. And I'll share the link with you, Gina, so you can include it in the show notes.
And I will put that down below for everybody. It's been so wonderful having you here, Damianne, and thanks for coming in all the way from Prague. I know it's the early morning for you over there, so I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Gina. This has been delightful. And we know delight is my thing.
I love that, delight
It's a
and
great
desire. All the D words, Damianne, delight and desire. So remember, everyone, to stay tuned to the next episode and like, comment, and subscribe. Pretty please. I will see you on the next episode, and it's never too late to unleash your wanderlust. Till next time.
Thanks for listening. Please share the love by liking, commenting, or subscribing, or join us in our Facebook community.